Cyberpunk, The Flame That Remains. Written and read by Ethan Taplin. Chapter 13 Before the Storm. Night City, 2075. Their embrace lingered a moment longer, just enough for Sophie to feel the tremor in Mael's shoulders start to still. She let go first. Without a word, she turned and raised her hand in a quick signal toward the Merrimack. Ares stepped out almost immediately, followed by Liv and Astrid. No weapons were drawn, but none of them were relaxed either. Liv approached first, her gaze steady on Mael. She didn't smile, but there was a quiet warmth in her voice. "Thank you. If you hadn't sent that message when you did." Her eyes flicked to Sophie. "We might have lost her again, for good." Mael looked down, shaking his head. "You saved her. You warned me," Liv said firmly, gently placing her hand on his arm. "That's enough." Astrid stepped forward to join Liv. Her eyes lingered on Mael like she was examining 1,000 different versions of him that could have been. "I am glad," she said simply, "that you have slipped free of your bonds, Wolf." Mael blinked, then gave a soft, baffled breath of laughter. "After all this, I'm glad you haven't changed." "No," Astrid agreed. "But you have." The group stood in silence for a beat, the wind coming off the bay cool and clean. For the first time in days, Sophie heard no gunfire, no shouting, no sirens screaming in the distance. She heard only the steady presence of people who had all, in one way or another, chosen not to run. Mael turned away from them, stepping back toward the guardrail at the edge of the seawall where a small duffel bag sat. He knelt, unzipped it, and pulled out a pair of binoculars and a compact rifle. He handed the binoculars to Liv, then detached the scope from his weapon and slipped the gun back into the bag. Mael pointed out across San Mauro Bay. In the distance, Sophie could see a small dot in the water. Mael held the scope to his eye, adjusting the lens. Liv followed suit, then lowered the binoculars. "Finn," she muttered. "There it is." She passed the binoculars to Ares, then turned to Sophie, her voice lower now. "It's definitely the Naglfar." Astrid stepped forward, gaze narrowing as she stared in the direction Mael had indicated. "No name, no colors flying," Mael said. "Looks like just another shadow on the water. Until you see the hull." He lowered the scope and handed it to Sophie. "It's never been marked with the corpse insignia. The Naglfar is hers, and hers alone." Sophie lifted the scope, and there it was, just as she remembered from the handful of times she'd been aboard. The hull was sleek, dark, and silent. No colors, no signal lights, but carved into the armor just beneath the bridge tower was the unmistakable Valnut. 3 interlocking triangles forming a knot, etched into the metal like a warning. That mark meant only one thing. This was Ursa's domain. Astrid's voice was cold and stark as Sophie lowered the scope from her eye. "The Naglfar sails, and Naustrand walks beside it. The realms have gathered for war, all the dead gods marching home. She has come to end the world, and the city will burn for her twilight." "Fuck," Ares whispered under his breath. He stared across the bay, jaw tight. "You really think she intends to bring the whole city into this fight?" "She does not come to bear witness. She comes to shape the ending with her own hands." Her gaze remained locked on the ship. "The wolf's chains are broken, the realms are unbound. The gatekeeper sees no path where the fire does not spread." "Mael, do you know what she wants specifically?" Ares scowled as he handed the binoculars back. I can't be sure, but she didn't bring that just to check up on us. He paused, lips pressed tight. If she's here, really here, it means she was already in transit. The Naglfar moves slowly and deliberately. This wasn't improvised. He glanced at Sophie, then the others. Maybe she changed course and came to bring you back, Sophie, herself. Now that the rest of us have burned our bridges. Sophie grimaced as Mael paused. Ursa had 4 children left under her command: Asgard, Midgard, Niflheim, and Helheim. Now, Mael continued, with Svartalfheim dead and us out of her grip, her fury after Sophie's first escape will be nothing compared to this. I think she's here to end the experiment, and she wouldn't hesitate to burn Night City to do it. Silence fell once more as they took in his words. Sophie's fingers curled reflexively around the railing. Ares was the first to speak. Assuming we don't want to sit around and wait for her to make the first move, how do we get out there? Mael turned back to the city, eyes scanning the marina, passing over the few small boats floating at the piers. We don't have a boat of our own, but that shouldn't be a problem. There are plenty right there. They drove back along the seawall to the marina, where Mael led them down to the docks. He pointed to a speedboat with bright red trim. This one's got corp branding, but it's probably only set up with automated systems and basic ice. We could borrow it. Borrow, Ares echoed flatly. Mael glanced at him sideways. Right. No reason we can't return it. A beat passed, then he added, You know, I don't think we've been introduced. Ares blinked. Oh, Sophie opened her mouth, but Ares beat her to it. I'm Ares, Sophie's partner. Mael raised a brow. Partner? In the work sense, Ares added, a little too quickly. Then, after a pause, mostly. Sophie shot him a look. Liv grinned. Oh, you two are just the worst at this, she said brightly. It's adorable. Sophie sighed, turning back to the boat. Can we please focus? Astrid, unbothered, giggled. They make a balanced weave. Ares nodded slowly. I'm still not sure what she means most of the time, but I think I'll take that one as a compliment. Mael gave a small, crooked smile. You'll get used to it. Sophie cleared her throat. So, you want me to crack the security on one of these so we can get to the Naglfar without drawing too much attention? Right, Mael said. This one, if you can think you can do it without setting off any alarms. I checked it out while I was waiting. The fuel gauge is full, the engine seems to be in good shape, and it's got plenty of space. Sophie crouched near the helm, brushing aside a tarp to reveal the vessel's control screen and interface ports. The marina was still silent behind them, only the lapping of water and the distant hum of the city keeping them company. She ran her fingers along the panel. Standard Corp hardware, nothing special. Seems like it's right off the assembly line. Nothing custom apart from the color scheme. Vehicular ice is usually just bluff and bluster, she said, mostly to herself. Intimidating on the surface, soft underneath. She tugged her personal link free from her left palm and jacked in. Her vision flickered as the system handshake initiated. A shallow security perimeter blinked into view. Basic intrusion countermeasure electronics, just as she'd predicted. A few layered lockouts, all automated. Nothing like what she'd find on the Naglfar. A moment later, her demons were chewing through the boat's defenses. Behind her, the others kept quiet. Ares watched one set of the stairs leading down to the dock, Liv watched the other. Mael shifted his weight anxiously behind her, but didn't interrupt. "The boat's clean," Sophie said after a few seconds. "Just a sec while I hide my footsteps." Lines of code folded under her vision, firewalls collapsing without so much as a ping to the marina's network or the owners. She left a low-level loop running in the background to spoof the GPS signal. No one would know the boat had been undocked unless they came to the marina themselves to take it for a spin. With a final flick of her wrist, the engine hummed to life and her link cable disconnected, slipping easily back into her hand. "All aboard." The speedboat sliced across San Mauro Bay, leaving a thin wake behind it as the seawall gave way to open water. Ares kept them low and fast, skimming just beyond the marina's perimeter buoys, where the water deepened. To their right, the towers of NCX loomed over Morrow Rock, 3 massive orbital launch platforms jutting from the sea like alien monoliths. Just west of the spaceport's restricted perimeter, half veiled by the morning fog, floated the Naglfar. It sat silent in the water, anchored as though it had been there forever, waiting for them. It bore no branding, no flags, only the faint outline of the Valnut knot, etched into its hull where anyone looking wouldn't understand the warning. No one except them. Sophie stood at the bow, hands gripping the railing, the salt spray cold against her face. The others were quiet behind her, but she didn't need to turn to know where they stood. She felt them. Ares steady at the throttle, Liv in the bow beside her, radiating quiet readiness. Astrid sat cross-legged with her back against the console, watching the ship, as though it would vanish if she looked away. Mael was farther back, his shoulders squared, jaw set. It had been 4 years. 4 years since her whole world had crumbled. She had grabbed what little she could carry and run, not knowing if she'd make it past the doors, let alone survive what lay beyond. But she had. She had bled and crawled her way into the unknown, alone. She hadn't looked back. Now, the wind on her face was different, sharper, not the air of flight, but of return. She tightened her grip on the railing. This time, she wasn't breaking out. This time, she was breaking in.